The massive spaceship hovered silently above the dusty plains of Zeta-9, its shadow stretching for miles across the alien landscape. Inside the ship's main hangar, rows of new recruits stood at attention, their forearms rigidly at their sides. General Zork, a towering figure with blue-green skin and piercing yellow eyes, paced back and forth, inspecting the latest batch of soldiers for the Galactic Alliance. As Zork moved down the line, his eyes narrowed. Something was off. Among the perfectly uniform ranks of Zetanian warriors, one figure stood out like a sore thumb. It was shorter than the others, with only 2 arms and an oddly shaped head covered by a dark helmet. The general's lip curled in disgust. "What in the name of the 7 moons is this?" Zork bellowed, stopping in front of the strange recruit. "Did someone let their pet onto my ship?" The other recruits remained silent, not daring to move a muscle. The unusual soldier also stayed perfectly still, giving no reaction to the general's mockery. Zork circled the figure, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, look at this scrawny little thing. 2 arms. How primitive. I bet it can't even lift a plasma rifle, let alone fight in the galactic wars." Still, the soldier didn't flinch. This only irritated Zork more. He was used to recruits trembling in fear at his approach, not standing calmly as if he were discussing the weather. "Remove your helmet, weakling," Zork commanded. "Let's see what pitiful species you belong to." Slowly, deliberately, the soldier reached up and began to remove the helmet. The surrounding recruits, despite their training, couldn't help but lean in slightly, curious about what lay beneath. As the helmet came off, there was a collective gasp. The face revealed was unlike anything they had seen before. It had 2 eyes, yes, but they were set close together, above a protruding nose and a mouth full of flat teeth. The skin was a pale color, with patches of fur on top of the head. Zork stumbled back, his yellow eyes wide with shock. "Impossible," he whispered. One of the senior officers rushed forward, his voice trembling. "General, if I'm not mistaken, that's a human." The word rippled through the hangar like a shockwave. Humans were the stuff of legends, a species so rare that most beings in the galaxy believed them to be myths. They were said to possess incredible strength and resilience, with the ability to adapt to almost any environment. The humans stood there, calm and collected, as chaos erupted around it. Zetanian soldiers broke ranks, whispering frantically to each other. Some backed away in fear, while others leaned in, trying to get a better look at the legendary creature. General Zork felt his confidence crumbling. He had just mocked a being that, if the stories were true, could probably tear him apart with its bare hands. His mind raced, trying to figure out how a human had ended up among his recruits. "You," Zork said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What's your name? How did you get here?" The human's lips curved into a slight smile. When it spoke, its voice was calm and clear. "My name is Alex, General. As for how I got here, well, that's a long story. Let's just say I'm here to join your ranks, if you'll have me." Zork's mind reeled. A human, volunteering to join the Galactic Alliance. It was unheard of. Humans were known for their independence, their refusal to bow to any alien authority. Yet here one stood, ready to serve. The general straightened up, trying to regain his composure. He couldn't show weakness, not in front of his troops. "Very well, Alex," he said, the unfamiliar name feeling strange on his tongue. "We'll see what you're capable of. But know this, I won't go easy on you just because you're a rare species. You'll be treated like any other recruit." Alex nodded, that same small smile still on its face. "I wouldn't have it any other way, General." As Zork moved on to the next recruit, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The presence of a human in their ranks would send shockwaves through the entire Galactic Alliance. And deep down, a part of him was excited to see what this strange, 2-armed creature could do. The inspection continued, but the atmosphere in the hangar had shifted. Every eye kept darting back to Alex, the impossible human who had appeared in their midst. The legend had become real, and no one, not even General Zork, could predict what would happen next. The news of a human joining the Galactic Alliance spread like wildfire through the massive spaceship. Within hours, every creature on board was talking about Alex, the two-armed enigma who had appeared out of nowhere. General Zork sat in his private quarters, his head in his hands. He had made a fool of himself in front of his troops, mocking a being that many considered legendary. Now, he needed to prove that he was still in control. A plan formed in his mind. He would challenge this human, show everyone that no matter how special Alex might be, Zork was still the superior warrior. The next morning, Zork called for a special training session. All the new recruits gathered in the ship's enormous training arena, a cavernous space filled with obstacles and high-tech training equipment. Today, Zork announced, his voice booming through the arena, "We will test the abilities of our diverse recruits." His eyes locked onto Alex, who stood calmly among the towering Zetanian soldiers. "You there, human," Zork called out. "Step forward." Alex moved to the center of the arena, face unreadable behind the reflective visor of the standard-issue helmet. Zork grinned, revealing rows of sharp green teeth. "Let's see how you handle our basic agility course. I doubt your primitive form can manage it, but please, prove me wrong." The other recruits murmured amongst themselves. The agility course was notoriously difficult, designed for beings with 4 arms and superior strength. How could a human possibly compete? Alex simply nodded and moved to the starting line. Zork pressed a button, and the course sprang to life. Holographic obstacles appeared, laser beams crisscrossed the path, and parts of the floor began to move unpredictably. "Begin," Zork shouted. What happened next left everyone in the arena speechless. Alex moved with a grace and speed that seemed impossible for a two-armed being. The human's body twisted and turned, effortlessly avoiding laser beams that would have scorched Zetanian skin. When faced with obstacles designed for 4-armed climbers, Alex used innovative techniques, finding footholds where none seemed to exist. Zork's jaw dropped as he watched Alex navigate sections of the course that even seasoned Zetanian warriors struggled with. The human's movements were efficient, almost beautiful in their simplicity. As Alex neared the end of the course, the final challenge appeared, a wide gap with swinging, electrified ropes. This obstacle had been specifically designed to require 4 arms for crossing. Zork allowed himself a small smile. Surely, this would be where the human failed. But Alex didn't hesitate. With a running start, the human leaped into the air, soaring over the gap in a graceful arc that defied the arena's artificial gravity. Alex landed on the other side with a perfect roll, popping up to a standing position right at the finish line. The arena erupted in cheers. Even the most skeptical recruits couldn't help but be impressed by the display they had just witnessed. Zork stood frozen, his mind struggling to process what he had seen. The human had not only completed the course but had done so with a speed and style that broke all previous records. As the cheering continued, Alex walked back to Zork and removed the helmet. Those strange human eyes looked directly into Zork's, not with arrogance, but with a quiet confidence. "Was that satisfactory, General?" Alex asked, a hint of a smile playing on those alien lips. Zork found himself at a loss for words. This human had just shattered every preconception he had held. He realized that he had grossly underestimated not just Alex, but perhaps the entire human species. Gathering his composure, Zork straightened up and addressed the crowd. "It seems our new recruit has some unexpected skills, but one test doesn't prove everything. We'll see how the human handles real combat training." As Zork dismissed the recruits, his mind was racing. He had intended to humiliate Alex, to put the human in its place. Instead, he found himself facing a new reality. This strange, two-armed being might be the most formidable warrior he had ever encountered. For the first time in years, General Zork felt something he had almost forgotten, the thrill of a true challenge. As he watched Alex walk away, surrounded by awestruck recruits, Zork realized that everything he thought he knew about warfare and species superiority might be about to change. The human had passed the first test with flying colors, but Zork was determined to push Alex to the limit. The real challenges were just beginning. The days following Alex's impressive performance on the agility course were filled with tension and curiosity. Wherever the human went, whispers and stares followed. Some recruits looked at Alex with awe, others with suspicion. But everyone had the same question. How did a human end up here? General Zork couldn't shake his unease. He needed answers. One evening, he summoned Alex to his private quarters, determined to unravel the mystery of the human's presence. As Alex entered, Zork noticed how small the human looked in the large alien-designed room. Yet there was an unmistakable air of confidence about Alex that made Zork sit up straighter. "Sit," Zork commanded, gesturing to a chair designed for Zetanian physiology. Alex managed to perch somewhat awkwardly on its edge. "I want to know everything," Zork said, his yellow eyes narrowing. "How did you get here? Why are you joining our ranks? Are there more of you?" Alex took a deep breath, seeming to weigh each word carefully before speaking. "It's a long story, General, but I suppose you deserve to know." What followed was a tale that left even the battle-hardened Zork stunned. Alex explained that humans had been secretly observing the Galactic Alliance for years. Earth, it turned out, was not the primitive, isolated planet everyone assumed it to be. Humanity had developed advanced cloaking technology that kept their true progress hidden from alien eyes. "We've been out among the stars for generations," Alex said, a hint of pride in the voice. "But we chose to stay hidden, to learn and prepare." Zork leaned forward, his antennae twitching with interest. "Prepare for what?" "For this moment," Alex replied. "We've seen the conflicts brewing in the galaxy. We know a war is coming that could tear everything apart. My mission is to join your ranks, to help prevent that war if possible, and to fight alongside you if it can't be stopped." The general's mind reeled. The implications were staggering. If humans had been watching them all this time, who knew what other secrets they held? "But why reveal yourselves now?" Zork asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. Alex's expression grew serious. "Because the threat we're facing is bigger than any one species. We've detected something coming from the outer reaches of the galaxy. Something ancient and powerful. If we don't stand together, it will destroy us all." Zork felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard rumors of strange occurrences in the outer systems, but nothing concrete. If what Alex said was true, "How can I trust you?" Zork demanded, even as a part of him already began to believe. Alex stood up, looking the general straight in the eye. "You can't. Not yet. But I'm here, offering the knowledge and skills of my people to help save this galaxy. All I ask is a chance to prove myself, to show that humans and Zetanians, and all the species of the Alliance, can work together." Zork studied the human for a long moment. Everything he had been taught told him to be suspicious, to reject this impossible story. But he couldn't deny the evidence of his own eyes. This small, two-armed being had already demonstrated abilities that defied explanation. Finally, Zork nodded. "Very well, human, you'll have your chance. But know this, I'll be watching your every move. One slip, one hint of betrayal, and you'll wish you'd never left your hidden Earth." Alex smiled, a gesture Zork was starting to recognize as a sign of agreement. "I wouldn't have it any other way, General." As Alex left the room, Zork turned to look out at the stars visible through his quarters viewport. The galaxy suddenly seemed much larger, much more mysterious than ever before. He had a feeling that Alex's arrival was just the beginning of changes that would reshape everything he thought he knew. The human had passed another test, but the greatest challenges still lay ahead. As Zork prepared for bed, he found himself both excited and terrified by the possibilities the future now held. With humans in the mix, the coming conflict would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The next few days aboard the massive Zetanian spaceship were tense. Word of Alex's true identity and purpose had spread, causing a mix of excitement and unease among the crew. Some saw the human as a potential savior, while others whispered about spies and trickery. General Zork, still unsure what to make of the situation, decided it was time for the ultimate test. If Alex was truly here to help, the human would need to prove capable in actual combat situations. Early one morning, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in every corridor as Zork's voice boomed over the intercom. All recruits to the battle simulation chamber immediately. This is not a drill. Confused and half-asleep recruits scrambled to get ready, rushing towards the large dome-shaped room at the heart of the ship. Alex, already alert and prepared, was one of the first to arrive. As the recruits filed in, they found themselves in what appeared to be a lush alien jungle. The air was thick and humid, filled with strange scents and sounds. It was a perfect recreation of the hostile planet Sonora, known for its dangerous wildlife and even more dangerous native inhabitants. Zork's holographic image appeared before them, his expression stern. "Listen up, recruits. We've received a distress signal from a downed Galactic Alliance ship on Sonora. Your mission is to locate the survivors and extract them safely. But be warned, the planet's inhabitants are not friendly. Work together, or you'll all fail." The hologram flickered out, leaving the recruits to organize themselves. Immediately, arguments broke out. The Zetanians, used to their hierarchical structure, couldn't agree on who should lead. Other alien species among the recruits added to the chaos, each insisting their way was best. Alex watched for a moment, then let out a sharp whistle that cut through the noise. All eyes turned to the human. "We don't have time for this," Alex said firmly. "Every second we waste arguing is a second those survivors might not have. We need to work together, using each of our strengths." To everyone's surprise, Alex quickly laid out a plan, assigning roles based on each species' unique abilities. The Zetanians, with their 4 arms, would take point and handle any heavy lifting. The Moldarians, with their heightened senses, would act as scouts. Other species were given equally important tasks. Initially skeptical, the recruits found themselves nodding along. Alex's plan made sense, and the humans' confidence was contagious. As they moved through the dense jungle, the team encountered their first challenge, a group of Sonorian predators, tooth and claw dripping with venom. The Zetanians raised their weapons, ready to blast the creatures to bits. "Wait," Alex called out. "We don't know if the sound will attract more. Let me try something." Before anyone could stop him, Alex stepped forward, producing a small device from a pocket. It emitted a high-pitched sound that made the predators shriek and retreat into the undergrowth. "Sonic deterrent," Alex explained with a grin. "Doesn't hurt them, just makes them uncomfortable. Shall we move on?" The group pressed forward, facing and overcoming challenge after challenge. They navigated treacherous terrain, avoided deadly plant life, and even managed to peacefully bypass a Xenorian village thanks to Alex's unexpected knowledge of their customs. Finally, they'd reached the crash site. The survivors were in bad shape, but alive. As the team worked to extract them, a massive Xenorian war party appeared, weapons raised and ready to attack. The recruits formed a defensive circle, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. It seemed like the mission would end in disaster. That's when Alex stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. To everyone's shock, the human began to speak in the clicking, gurgling language of the Xenorians. The war party's leader responded, clearly surprised. For tense minutes, Alex and the Xenorian leader conversed. Then, miraculously, the war party lowered their weapons. They even helped carry some of the injured survivors as the team made their way to the extraction point. As soon as they reached safety, the simulation dissolved around them. They were back in the battle chamber, sweaty and tired, but successful. General Zork materialized before them, his expression unreadable. "Impressive," he said finally. "Very impressive indeed. It seems our human recruit has more surprises up those two sleeves than I anticipated." Alex smiled, but there was a weariness behind it. "Teamwork, General. That's the key. No single species can face what's coming alone. We need each other." Zork nodded slowly. "Perhaps you're right, human. Perhaps you're right." As the recruits dispersed, chattering excitedly about their success, Zork watched Alex leave. The general's mind was racing. If this was what one human could do, what might be possible with more? What might be possible with more? For the first time since Alex's arrival, Zork felt something he hadn't expected: hope. In the weeks following the successful simulation, the atmosphere on the Zetanian spaceship changed dramatically. Alex was no longer viewed as an oddity or a potential threat, but as a valuable member of the team. The human's innovative thinking and unexpected skills had earned the respect of many recruits and even some senior officers. General Zork, however, remained conflicted. While he couldn't deny Alex's contributions, the idea of relying on a human still made him uneasy. His entire career had been built on the assumption of Zetanian superiority. Now that foundation was crumbling. One quiet evening, as the ship cruised through a remote sector of space, alarms suddenly blared to life. This time, it wasn't a drill. Unidentified vessels approaching. A voice shouted over the intercom, "All hands to battle stations." The ship erupted into controlled chaos as crew members rushed to their posts. In the command center, Zork stared at the view screen in disbelief. A fleet of ships unlike anything he'd ever seen before was bearing down on them. Their designs were alien, their energy signatures off the charts. "Sir," one of the officers said, voice shaking, "our weapons aren't making a dent in their shields. What are your orders?" Zork hesitated, for once unsure of what to do. That's when Alex burst into the command center, out of breath but eyes sharp with focus. "General," Alex said urgently, "those ships, they're what we've been warning you about. The ancient threat from the outer reaches. We need to act fast." Zork's first instinct was to dismiss the human, to rely on tried and true Zetanian battle tactics. But something made him pause. "What do you suggest?" he asked, surprising himself and everyone in the room. Alex quickly moved to the main control panel. "If you'll allow me, I can reconfigure your shields to emit a specific frequency. It should disrupt their targeting systems." For a moment, Zork hesitated. Allowing a human access to their most vital systems went against everything he believed. But with destruction looming, what choice did he have? "Do it," Zork commanded. Alex's fingers flew over the alien controls with surprising dexterity. The ship shuddered as its energy output changed, the shields flickering for a heart-stopping moment before stabilizing. On the view screen, the effect was immediate. The enemy ship's precise formation began to waver, their attacks going wide. "It's working," an officer exclaimed. "Their hits are down by 70%. But Alex wasn't done. "Now target this specific point on their lidship," the human said, highlighting an area on the screen. "It's a weak spot in their design." Zork gave the order, and a concentrated blast of energy shot out from the Zetanian ship. It struck the enemy vessel exactly where Alex had indicated. To everyone's amazement, the massive ship began to break apart, its destruction causing chaos in the enemy fleet. "All ships, focus fire on that same spot," Zork commanded, his tactical mind quickly adapting to this new strategy. What followed was a battle unlike any in Zetanian history, with Alex providing insights on the enemy's weaknesses and the Zetanian crew's superior firepower. They managed to turn the tide. One by one, the mysterious ships were disabled or destroyed. As the last enemy vessel retreated, a cheer went up throughout the ship. In the command center, officers were patting each other on the back, marveling at their unlikely victory. Zork turned to Alex, seeing the human in a new light. "How did you know all that?" he asked, his voice a mix of awe and lingering suspicion. Alex's expression was grim. "This was just a scouting party, General. We've been studying them for years, preparing for this moment, but the real invasion is yet to come." A hush fell over the command center as the implications sank in. Zork straightened up, his decision made. "Then we have work to do," he said firmly. "You've proven your worth, human. Now, tell us everything you know. It's time we prepare the entire Galactic Alliance for what's coming." As Alex began to share detailed information about the ancient threat, Zork realized that everything was about to change. The galaxy as they knew it was facing its greatest challenge, and their survival would depend on something he never thought possible: a partnership between humans and aliens. The mock-worthy, weak soldier had turned out to be their greatest asset, and for the first time, Zork was glad to have been proven wrong. In the days following the surprise attack, the Zetanian ship buzzed with activity. General Zork had called for an emergency meeting of the Galactic Alliance Council, and representatives from various alien races were arriving by the hour. The grand meeting hall was packed with beings of all shapes and sizes. Tentacled Octarians floated next to furry Lupinians, while crystalline quartzites sparkled beside the gaseous forms of the Nebulons. At the center of it all stood Alex, the lone human in a sea of aliens. General Zork called the meeting to order, his booming voice silencing the chattering crowd. "Esteemed members of the Alliance," he began, "we face a threat unlike any we have encountered before. I present to you Alex, a representative of a species many of us thought was merely legend. The humans." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some leaned forward in curiosity, while others recoiled in suspicion. Alex stepped forward, taking a deep breath before addressing the assembly. "Greetings, members of the Galactic Alliance. I know my presence here is unexpected, perhaps even unwelcome to some, but the danger we face leaves no room for old prejudices or fears." Over the next hour, Alex laid out everything humans had learned about the ancient threat. The human explained how this enemy, dubbed the Void Collective, had been consuming galaxies for millennia, assimilating technologies and life forms into their hive mind. "They see our diversity as a weakness," Alex said, gesturing to the varied beings in the room. "But I believe it's our greatest strength. Each of our species has unique abilities, technologies, and perspectives. United, we have a chance to stop the Void Collective. Divided, we'll fall one by one." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices. Some demanded proof, others called for immediate action, and a few even suggested surrendering to the Void Collective. General Zork watched it all unfold, his mind racing. He had spent his entire career believing in the superiority of his own race. Now he was being asked to put his faith in a coalition of species he barely understood, led by a human he had once mocked. But as he looked around the room, he saw something that gave him pause. Despite their differences, despite the fear and uncertainty, the representatives were talking to each other. Ideas were being exchanged, alliances forming before his eyes. Zork's gaze fell on Alex, who was deep in conversation with a group of quartzites, explaining something with animated gestures. The human's enthusiasm was infectious, drawing in more and more curious aliens. In that moment, Zork made his decision. He strode to the center of the room, his commanding presence silencing the crowd once more. "I have seen with my own eyes what we can accomplish when we work together," Zork declared. "This human, whom I once dismissed as weak, has shown courage and wisdom beyond measure. If we are to survive the coming storm, we must put aside our differences and unite." He turned to Alex, extending all four of his arms in a gesture of partnership. "You have my full support, and that of the Zetanian fleet. Together, we will face this threat and emerge victorious." The room erupted in cheers. One by one, representatives stepped forward to pledge their support. The Octarians offered their unparalleled navigation skills, the Lupinians their advanced stealth technology, and the Nebulons their ability to interface with any computer system. As the meeting continued late into the night, plans were made, strategies devised, and a true alliance began to form. Alex moved from group to group, answering questions, offering suggestions, and building bridges between species that had been distant or even hostile for generations. General Zork watched it all with a mixture of pride and amazement. The weak soldier he had mocked had become the linchpin of the greatest alliance the galaxy had ever seen. As the meeting finally wound down, Zork approached Alex. "You've done the impossible," he said, his gruff voice tinged with respect. "You've given us hope." Alex smiled, tired but determined. "This is just the beginning, General. The real work starts now. Are you ready?" Zork straightened, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced in years. "Ready as I'll ever be, human. Let's show the Void Collective what this galaxy is made of." As they looked out at the diverse group of aliens working together, both Alex and Zork knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them not as separate species, but as a united galaxy. The once mocked, weak soldier had become the catalyst for the greatest alliance in cosmic history. Months had passed since the formation of the United Galactic Alliance. The once disparate alien races had come together, pooling their resources and knowledge to prepare for the coming storm. At the heart of it all were General Zork and Alex, an unlikely pair that had become the symbol of this unprecedented cooperation. As dawn broke over the Alliance's main fleet, alarms blared throughout every ship. The Void Collective had arrived. On the bridge of the flagship, Alex stood beside General Zork, both staring at the viewscreen with grim determination. The sight before them was terrifying. A massive swarm of void ships, so numerous they blotted out the stars. "This is it," Alex said softly. "Everything we've prepared for." Zork nodded, his four arms moving in perfect sync as he activated the ship's systems. "Indeed. Are you ready, human?" Alex grinned, a flash of that same confidence that had first irritated and then impressed the general. "Born ready, General. Let's save the galaxy." Zork's voice boomed through the communication channels, reaching every ship in the Alliance fleet. "All units, this is General Zork. The enemy is upon us. Remember your training, trust in each other, and fight not just for your own worlds, but for every free being in this galaxy." A chorus of cheers answered him, a unity of voices from 100 different species. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Void ships clashed with the Alliance fleet in a dazzling display of advanced technology and tactical brilliance. Octarian ships danced through the chaos, their tentacled pilots navigating with impossible grace. Lupinian stealth fighters struck from the shadows, appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Quartzite vessels absorbed enemy fire and reflected it back, their crystalline structures glowing with power. At the center of it all, the flagship commanded by Zork and Alex led the charge. The humans' intimate knowledge of void tactics combined with the general's strategic genius to create a formidable leadership. But despite their preparations, the Void Collective's numbers seemed endless. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. The Alliance's lines began to buckle under the relentless assault. In a quiet moment amidst the chaos, Alex turned to Zork. "General, we need to end this now. I have an idea, but it's risky." Zork didn't hesitate. "At this point, human, I trust your judgment. What's the plan?" Alex quickly outlined a daring strategy. A small team would need to infiltrate the Void Collective's command ship and upload a virus that would disrupt their hive mind. "It's a one-way trip," Alex finished. "Whoever goes probably won't come back." Zork stood silent for a moment, then nodded. "Then I will go." Alex shook his head. "No, General. The fleet needs you here. I'll go." "Absolutely not," Zork growled. "I won't send you to your death, human." "With all due respect, General," Alex said with a smile, "I'm not asking for permission." Before Zork could react, Alex was sprinting towards the hangar bay. The general's shouts of protest faded as Alex boarded a small, fast ship equipped with Lupinian stealth technology. As the tiny vessel shot out from the flagship, weaving through the battle towards the heart of the Void Fleet, Zork watched with a mixture of admiration and fear. This weak soldier, this human he had once mocked, was now risking everything to save them all. The next hour was the longest of Zork's life. The battle raged on, but his eyes kept darting to the massive Void command ship. Suddenly, a series of explosions rippled across its surface. The Void ships began to move erratically, their coordinated attacks falling into disarray. The virus. Someone shouted. It's working. As the Alliance pressed their advantage, routing the now confused enemy, Zork searched desperately for any sign of Alex's ship, but the scanning systems showed nothing. Days later, as the Alliance celebrated their hard-won victory, Zork stood alone on the observation deck. The galaxy spread out before him, saved from an unimaginable threat thanks to the courage of one human. A voice behind him made him turn. Quite a view, isn't it, General? There stood Alex, battered and bruised, but very much alive. Zork's usual stoic demeanor crumbled. He swept the human up in a four-armed embrace. "You impossible, brilliant, reckless human," he exclaimed. As they looked out at the stars together, Zork shook his head in wonder. "I once mocked you as weak," he said softly. "I've never been so glad to be proven wrong." Alex smiled. "Strength comes in many forms, General. But the strongest of all, that's unity. And thanks to you, we've got that in spades." As news of their victory spread throughout the galaxy, a new era dawned. The alliance forged in battle would endure in peace, with all species working together as equals. And at the heart of it all was the unbreakable friendship between a once arrogant alien general and the weak human soldier who had changed everything.